Hello, and thank you for joining me today as I look through some knitting patterns to help myself and you achieve a cottagecore aesthetic through our knits. Hello! Alright, as I said, today's video will be focused on identifying some patterns that we can knit up to achieve the cottagecore aesthetic, which is a very popular aesthetic based on being out in the countryside and having a little cottage. So I'm excited to dive into these patterns and identify some common characteristics of the cottagecore aesthetic and style, and then identify the patterns that we can use to get close to that aesthetic. So let's just jump right in. So before we get into it, cottagecore is an aesthetic that I'm going to describe these aesthetics in the way that they're meant to feel, because that's how fashion and style makes sense to me. So to me, cottagecore is, you feel like you're frolicking in a field and you have a little cottage and you wear your nice flowy dresses and you have an apron on to collect eggs in and hold your eggs like this in the apron, and you tie your hair back. Like, it's very dainty and feminine, but also very functional because it is kind of this style that's balancing frolicking and this kind of slow way of life with the practicality of if you're living in a cottage and you have chickens or you have things to tend to and you need something to harvest, like, you know, you need your skirt to harvest. So it's kind of, to me, like this, I love it because it really emphasizes slow living in a lot of ways. It's a lot of like more impractical outfits where it's, you know, just very flowy, big skirt and cozy cardigans. Like, I wouldn't want to take a bus in a cottagecore outfit, maybe. Just, you couldn't move super quickly. So to me, it's more like a walkabout and slow living while being functional for that, because you do have, you know, your hair tied back or big pockets and things like that. So I hope that makes sense as a description of cottagecore. A lot of the colors in cottagecore are more muted. There's a lot of pastels. You also see a lot of neutral colors. And then a lot of, like, you might see a lot of rust red, but you won't see primary color red, if that makes sense. So a lot of more off colors, or less saturated colors, I'd say. And then either darker or lighter hues, not a ton right in the middle there. So it's a beautiful style. I really love it. I wish I could dress cottagecore all the time. But it's, you know, it's not always the most practical for my life, but okay, that's my quick description of cottagecore. And I will have had some photos up of what I'm trying to say as well. So hopefully the visual plus my rambly description of cottagecore makes sense to you. So the main elements of cottagecore that I've kind of pulled out that you could knit, these are just 3. I think there's definitely more that you could knit from cottagecore, but 3 things that I saw repeating a lot in some of the cottagecore styles. The first category is head kerchiefs, or just headscarves, whatever you want to call them. Typically, there's a few ways these are styled I've seen. There's the traditional kind of triangle head kerchief where you use it to fully pull back your hair and it covers your head from your forehead to the very back. There's also a lot of people who, with cottagecore style, will take kind of a longer scarf or a piece of ribbon even and just tie your hair back in a ponytail using a piece of ribbon. So yeah, there's a few different ways that this is utilized, but the essence is there is some sort of fabric in your hair pulling it away from your face, and it's usually in a floral print or got some sort of whimsical, I'm going to say whimsical a lot when describing cottagecore, honestly. Hope that makes sense. But some sort of whimsical or, dainty, delicate element, whether that's gingham print or floral print or a lace design, whatever it may be. So let's just get into the pattern recommendations. Okay, the first one that really spoke to me as kind of a cottagecore piece for this head kerchief is the Romanticist Bandana. This is a pattern by Meredith Campbell. It uses DK weight yarn, and it's got this very beautiful but very simple lace motif. So it adds a lot of, it's still simple, it's still practical, but it's got that whimsical element. So I really like that. I also really love head kerchiefs that have kerchief. Tell me what you say. I think both are correct. So I really love head kerchiefs or headscarves that have kind of an I-cord, so you can tie just that in the back and you don't have a ton of bulk kind of under your hair. It's just the bulk is up here, or the larger piece of fabric, and then you just have 2 strings to tie at the bottom. That, I think, makes it a little bit easier to wear and easier to knit, because you don't have to make the triangle that you're knitting that long. You just have to make the triangle long enough to cover the top of your head, and then you have the 2 I-cords on either side. So it makes it a little bit easier to knit, a little bit quicker, and it just helps to not have too much bulk. I mean, the other style is also great, where, you know, you just knit until the whole thing will wrap around your head, but this is just a nice kind of break from that. The next kerchief, headscarf, whatever you want to call them, is the Ivy Scarf by Cookie the Knitter. This is a really cool pattern. It comes with 2 different styles that would both work as a headscarf. The first is kind of the traditional triangle bandana shape, which you could use to fully wrap around your head, and it would cover till about here with your hair. That's wonderful. And then there's also just a scarf version. So it's still got 2 points at the end, but it's a lot more rectangular shaped, I guess. And you could use that to tie back your hair and make a little bow with it instead, or tie it around as a little headband. So it wouldn't give you the full pulled back hair effect, but it still would be really, really cute. Both of these are amazing. It is a fingering weight pattern, and yeah, it doesn't use too much yarn. I mean, both are really small, so it uses between 185 and 409 yards of yarn. So if you had, again, a variegated skein you wanted to use, or just something special that you had some leftovers from, or you just had a single skein, this would be great for that. And you could make a really beautiful headscarf. I think that I might end up doing this scarf pattern in a few months, because it's stunning, and it's a good way to use up some half skeins of sock yarn that would just be wonderful to use up this way. All right. The next pattern is the I Love Stripes bandana. This is by Suzanne Mueller, who goes by Suzanne Mueller on Ravelry, but you may have seen her on Instagram as Paula Strict. This is a really nice, again, triangle shaped bandana, but it's got the addition of these stripes. So it's just a really simple stockinette pattern. It's got really nice shaping where there's a line right down the middle, and you make your increases off of that. And then it has the added element of these raised stripes. I'd be interested to see how those stripes are done. It's really nice. I really like too, there's one sample where she didn't do the different colors. She just has the different texture, the raised stripes, but it's in the same color. And I think that could really complement this. It then has this fun texture and adds some element, but it's not too contrasty or too striped. I mean, I think that you could also do it with the stripes and it'd be wonderful. But yeah, it's nice to have that variety of ability. And this one is also fingering weight, and it uses 219 to 273 yards. So it'd also be really great for just using up a little bit of your stash if you have some extra fingering weight yarn. My next recommendation is the scarf number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This is another triangle shaped scarf, so it's kind of that bandana shape. It would be great to wrap around your head and cover the majority of your hair. It is a DK weight, and it uses 197 to 252 yards, and it's really nice. It's got garter and then eyelet details, so it's pretty simple, and it's shaped similarly to the I Love Stripes bandana, where the and creases kind of come from the center line. So you get a really nice pointed shape, and all of the motifs kind of hit each other at that point, which is nice. It's very simple. I think we've probably seen this pattern before because it is my favorite things knitwear pattern, and she's a pretty popular designer, but it's classic. It would be really nice too for having some ventilation from your head. If your head does get very hot, it's nice to just have something with the eyelet detail or another lace detail where you are going to have airflow coming in and out. So that is another great one. And then my final recommendation today, and this one might be my favorite, this is the Walnut by Molly Conrad. It just came out in February 2024, so it's a new release, and it is really beautiful. It's another lace pattern. It's kind of cool. It goes from left to right, this lace, so you're not seeing the point. It's shaped differently, and it's really pretty. I think it could also be, if you wanted to, you could pretty easily add the applied I-cord, so you could just have the tie here. But it also looks really nice as the larger thing that, fully ties around your head, and that way you can also wear it as a little scarf. And yeah, it's really stunning. It's a DK weight, and it uses 150 to 360 yards. Right. So those are my recommendations for head kerchiefs to get kind of that in the garden, tying back my hair, trying to protect myself from the sun look of the cottagecore. The next thing we'll move on to is the straight textured cardigans. Typically, I've seen a lot where it's styled with a long skirt and then a button up, or just a turtleneck, or just some sweet blouse, or maybe it's just over a dress, and so you just have the top of the dress. But yeah, essentially long skirt on the bottom, like maxi skirt, usually multiple tiers of that maxi skirt, and then a lighter, like a tighter top on the top, whether that's the top of a dress or something else that you're wearing on the top, a button up, something to kind of go together. So yeah, thrown over dresses and skirts. So I found 5 patterns for achieving this look. The first one is the Kachu, I hope I'm saying that right, by Nadia Cretin-Lechin. This is a beautiful pattern. I actually saw the Mindful Creators recommend it a few days ago in her, she did a cardigans roundup video, and this one's stunning. So it's got some compound cables, I think they're called. Essentially, it's like, yeah, cables on cables in these lines. It's very interesting look. It's got the straight look. It looks like maybe there's some short row shaping, which is nice to give you a little bit more shape at the top. But it does have the straight up and down, and I really love the sample. The pink sample with the tweed looks wonderful. And then this pattern is a fingering plus lace. She categorizes that as a sport, but I've only ever seen that categorized as a DK weight, so it's worthwhile to check on your own gauge to make sure you're achieving that. Next one I'll recommend is the Cutara cardigan by Sari Nordlund. This is a beautiful circular lace yoke pattern with a double knit button band. I think it's double knit. It might actually just be folded over. I think, yeah, on closer inspection, it's just a folded over button band. It's a beautiful pattern. I mean, Sari Nordlund does really well with lace patterns, and those circular lace yokes are kind of one of the things I at least associate most with her. I also really love that she has the lace detail again on the sleeves. I think that's a wonderful addition. And yeah, not too much else to say. It's a really beautiful pattern. Sari Nordlund has a line of patterns with the same lace motif. So this is the Cutara cardigan, but I've seen others knit the Cutara top, and I think there's a Cutara sweater or pullover as well. And yeah, it's beautiful. And yeah, it's a DK weight pattern. So it's another fingering plus lace, but Sari Nordlund has categorized that as DK here. So yeah, it's great. All right, the next one that I will recommend is the Field cardigan. This is by Camilla Vaught. And yeah, it's got this beautiful cabling right at the top that almost grows down into the cardigan, and then it's just straight stockinette from that. Very simple finishings with a ribbed button band, ribbed 1x1 rib details. And yeah, overall just stunning. It's a DK weight cardigan. And yeah, I think that's all to say about it. It's really pretty. I think that this with, you know, a little turtleneck underneath it and a long dress, or yeah, maybe just a long maxi flowy dress would just be great out in the garden. Maybe a gingham dress underneath. It would be so cute. Okay. The next pattern I'll recommend is something that I've knit before. This is the Merc Cardigan by Alexandra Solowianiuk, who she is also known on Instagram as Vert and Rose. And I've made this cardigan before. It's really beautiful. Even the way that Alexandra styles this in her sample photos is kind of, it's maybe more a little bit light or dark academia. But she has the long skirt, the kind of crew neck underneath it, and it's wonderful. She's reading a book. I can imagine going out in the garden, collecting eggs in the skirt in this outfit. My Mercia cardigan definitely makes me feel kind of the most cottagecore I do, where, you know, I want to wear it over a big flowy dress and just be in nature in it. So that's wonderful. It's a really great piece. It's knit in DK weight. Okay, and then my final recommendation for straight cardigans is the Sarah cardigan. This is by Monmi Choi, also known as Soup Knits on Instagram. And yeah, this is a really, really cool piece. I've knit my Athens cardigan, V-neck, if you've been around for a while, is by Monmi Choi, and it's a wonderful cabled cardigan. Her style of writing patterns is really clear. She has great charts, so I really enjoyed that. And this is a wonderful piece. It's got the straight, it's got a lot of different kinds of cables. There's 3 different kinds of cables, and then pretty simple 1x1 rib button band neckline finishings. And then I think that the sleeves are brioche. So it's a lot of different textures going on. So this is definitely not a beginner friendly pattern, but it is stunning. I think the brioche sleeves really add a lot. I think it's brioche. So they add a lot, and then the multiple different kinds of cables look really wonderful together. And this is a lace plus light fingering pattern, so she's counting that as a sport weight. Again, you could probably get away with a lace plus fingering and count it as a DK, but I will say with Soup Knits patterns, I think she's a very tight knitter, so you might want to stick with the smaller gauge yarns or the thinner yarns here. So maybe do try to aim for true sport. Someone please go knit this and then go somewhere where you can collect eggs and hold it in your cardigan or in your skirt, please. The last section of cottagecore patterns is going to be kind of tighter or smaller gauge turtleneck or higher necked pieces. This is kind of an amorphous category here. A lot of cottagecore, I think, involves layering. There's a lot of dresses that you then put a turtleneck or just another kind of sweater or tighter, like just a finer gauge sweater or tighter thing underneath, just anything that can comfortably fit under a dress or a pair of overalls to layer with. There's like a corduroy overall dress I saw layered, or just a pair of overalls with a little bit chunkier of a sweater, or just a dress that is kind of that apron style dress with a big flowy blouse underneath it. So I've found 4 patterns to get that look. The first pattern I'm recommending for this is the Bmine Blouse. This is by Park Williams, who's also known as Park and Knit on Instagram. And this is a crazy pattern because it's lace weight. So it would be an endeavor to knit it, but it is stunning. So it's got the nice turtleneck with the little frills on the top, like little ruffles right at the top of the turtleneck, and on the sleeves there's little ruffles. The tie at the back is so delicate, so the turtleneck, to make sure you can get it on and off your head, it doesn't fully seal at the back. You have a little tie, which is so beautiful. You then have this kind of little eyelet. Is that called an eyelet opening right at the back? I'm not sure, but it's stunning. I love the color she chose to knit the sample in, and looking at some of the other samples, they're beautiful. So it'd be a lot of work, but then you have this wonderful blouse, and it's going to be thin enough to really comfortably wear underneath other pieces. The next one that I will recommend is the Ellie Shirt. This is patterned by Simone Ryan, who's also known as Rust Knitwear, I believe, on Instagram. I'll double check that. But this is another really beautiful piece. Yeah, Rust Knitwear. It's a fully broken ribbed V-neck shirt. And what I really love about this is that there are options to do short sleeves if you'd like, or do full long sleeves. I also really love the shaping. There is some really beautifully done shaping to go in at the waist and then also go in at the sleeves. And it just makes these beautiful lines throughout. And so it's just a well thought out piece. And it is meant for either zero ease or negative ease. So yeah, it's beautiful. I really like her rust sample of it. And I think that this would be something really easy to layer underneath dresses or something else because it is so fine. This is a light fingering weight piece. It would be, again, an undertaking. That is a lot to knit in the light fingering weight. But it's really beautiful. I really love her shaping here. Okay, the next one, and there are so many by this designer that I wanted to include, but I decided only one per designer. So the next one is the Rowena. I think it's Rowena Jumper by Fable Knitwear. This is a beautiful turtleneck with some nice puff sleeves. It's all over ribbed, except the sleeves are in stockinette, but the body is all over ribbed. And yeah, it's got the nice puff shoulders. It also does have another keyhole opening at the back to make it easier to get on and off. And yeah, it's a really wonderful, delicate, pretty piece. And it'd be really fun to have this under a dress where you have that little puff detail. Yeah, but again, Fable Knitwear has a lot of beautiful, more tight wearing pieces. So I highly recommend checking out some of her other patterns if you are interested in achieving kind of a cottagecore style with your knitwear. She has a lot of different options that you can knit. The final piece that I will recommend for this is the Barbar Blouse by Pernille Larsen, who is the designer for Knitting for Olive. This is a really beautiful piece. It's all over lace, and it's got this kind of scalloped lace look, and then there's scalloping at the sleeves, at the hem, and at the neck, and it again has a keyhole opening in the back so that you can easily get it on and off. This is knit with the light fingering weight, and again, quite an undertaking. It's all over lace in a very, very small gauge. This is knit on US 1.5 and US 2.5, or 2.5 millimeter and 3 millimeters. So it's an undertaking, but it is stunning. And yeah, I mean, at least you wouldn't need to have as much ease as you normally would on a large sweater. So yeah, you go for negative ease. So at least it'd be less inches of knitting, but still it would be a lot. But it would be a wonderful piece to style under other pieces going forward. Okay, and with that, I'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate you being here. Please let me know if you have seen other patterns before that you really think fit into the cottagecore aesthetic as well. I'd be interested to hear what others think. I also will likely make more of these in the future. I'm thinking maybe a granola girl video or coastal grandma. So if there are other aesthetics or styles that really speak to you, please let me know down below. If you'd be interested in seeing a video format like this again. Also let me know if you just enjoyed this video and would like to see more. So yeah, with that, I'll wrap it up, and I hope that you are having a great day, great evening, great week, whatever time it is. I hope it's great, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!